Hello, and after a few days exploring Cambodia, I'm heading back to Sydney, and on today's flight I'm flying with Singapore Airlines on board one of their new 737-8 Maxes. Now, my last flight was in economy, so I'm really keen to check out their business class product because it actually has lie flat seats, which is unique for the narrow body aircraft. So let's head to the airport and I'll show you how it goes. I'm Paul Stewart and I make videos about planes. This includes reviews of flights from around the world and detailed tours through significant aircraft in museums. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. Here we are arriving at Siem Reap Airport. It's pretty quiet at the moment as COVID has really smacked down the tourism industry, but it is on the rebound and this airport is the easiest entry point to visit Angkor Wat. These ruins are the largest religious site in the world and made famous by Lonely Planet a few years ago and well worth a visit. So soon we'll see the crowds return and I'm sure that the airport will do a pretty good job of handling them. For travel insurance purposes, I've forgotten how we got to the airport, but we're here. They check your boarding pass before you enter the check-in area, which was thankfully nicely air-conditioned. The queues look pretty long, so I was glad to have a separate check-in line for business class and passengers with Singapore and Star Alliance status. By the way, if you are flying in the opposite direction, make sure that you bring cash to pay for your tourist visa as they don't take credit card payments. They do prefer US dollars, although I was able to pay in Australian currency. You're forced to walk through the duty-free shop and then I was off to the lounge. Singapore Airlines don't have a lounge here, so they contract to the Plaza Premium lounge, which you can also purchase access to. I thought there was actually a pretty decent lounge with heaps of seating, including these private-ish little pods with their own power plugs. There was also an outside section if you prefer the humidity and aerosolized tar and burnt lung matter. There is a bar and I'll take you on a tour of the food options. There are these self-serve soft drinks and tea, and next to that were cold salad options. There's also hot food, and I should mention that this was around 9 in the morning. There's more food made to order and I went with the espresso and the Cambodian style fishball noodle soup. Here's another shot of the bar, and there's also Angkor beer on tap, which I assume is a local thing. One massive perk of lounge access, especially in hotter climates, is access to showers, and this lounge did not disappoint. Everything felt well built and it was a perfect freshen up before my 2-hour flight to Singapore. There were amenities including combs, toothbrushes, and toothpaste, as you can see here. I wanted to capture my aircraft arriving, so I took off to the departure gate. There was a reasonable amount of seating and there's plenty of shops inside to purchase tourist items and food before your flight if you don't have lounge access. Now here's our aircraft arriving, 9 Victor Mike Bravo Alpha, a 737-8 Max that first flew in late 2017, but spent time flying with Silk Air before going into storage and then added to the Singapore fleet in November last year. The main change with the newer model is a much larger engine, which as you can see has been lifted up so that it doesn't grate on the ground, and up almost level with the wing's leading edge. We boarded via remote gate, which is less fun in intense humidity, but it's always great to get up and close to the aircraft and those massive new engines especially. Entering the aircraft via door 1 left, it's a right turn and then we're into the 3-row business cabin. First up, check out the extra legroom in the first row, but otherwise row 2 is the best as they have these individual throne chairs. Let's look through these brand new seats, and starting with the overhead air vents, which was appreciated as it was pretty warm on board. On the right there's the safety card and chunder bag. Moving back into the center is this 16-inch in-flight entertainment touchscreen, and below that is a storage pouch. Moving around is a clothes hook. Then we've got this massive storage hole with a mirror on the inside of the door. Next to that is a fold-out table which felt fairly sturdy. There's an adjustable reading light which you turn on by twisting, and then there's also a USB port, and there's a power plug coming later. There's these decent quality headphones, and twisting further around is a universal power plug, and it's hard to see it, but there's also another USB port directly under it. There's this massive ledge, and below that is even more storage space and a flotation device. Here's the leg recess, which is fun but slightly narrower than the front row you saw before. And continuing around is the buttons to adjust the seat, and then hidden under here is the remote control if you don't want to use the touchscreen. There's also a great view of the engines, and thankfully, Boeing have used traditional sunshades rather than the electronic dimmers that the cabin crew can lock. They also provide these little socks for the headphones. The in-flight entertainment had pretty decent content, including recent and Western movies, and you can also live stream several news sources. The seat really is a great design, and there's a huge amount of space if you want to get work done. We backed out, said our farewells to the ground crew, who did an amazing job considering the heat and humidity out there, and that heat would only worsen working on the hot concrete apron, as it would reflect the heat back up into the crew. Now, as any ginger will know, or any other skin varieties with grossly incompetent melanocytes, you can actually get sunburnt from reflected radiation from the snow coming up from the ground and hitting the underside of your nose, which sucks. So, it's a similar thing with working on this hot tarmac like this. Anyway, let's take off and comment below how you think the new engines sound when they spool up. I must admit that I almost think that the 800's engines sounds better. As we gain altitude and fly south, you can see Tonle Sap, which translates to the Great Lake, which is the largest freshwater lake in Southeast Asia. They took our lunch order before we take off, which reminds me that there's no boarding drinks nor hot towel, which I was kind of expecting for a 2-hour flight in business class. I'm not sure if this is a COVID thing, and hopefully it's coming back soon if it is. Now here's lunch. The appetizer is a marinated salmon with cucumber, lettuce and citrus dressing. Dessert was a vanilla pear charlotte chocolate cake with poached pear and a Riesling from the Clare Valley in Australia. For the main, I went with the Singapore nasi lemak with coconut flavoured rice with chili sauce, peanuts, anchovies, spiced fish cake, omelette and fried chicken. There was also a bakery, and I went with some warm garlic bread or two. After lunch, I had their signature Singapore Sling, which is a complex combination of gin, sherry, brandy, Cointreau, and 4/5 pineapple juice. It tasted alright, but it's kind of odd mixing so many spirits, so it just kind of tastes like weird pineapple juice. After all that eating, I was exhausted, so I put the seat into flat mode. The legs get a little tight, but I can't complain too much. I actually snuck into the first row since they were empty, and you can see how much wider the leg recesses are. It's hard to see, but they have different storage space in front, and they've got 2 power plugs and USB ports down here. For added privacy, you can pull out your tray table part of the way. Up front, there's a toilet which you share with the 10 other business passengers. It was pretty standard inside, with some creams and cologne, and there was also a selection of a few other toiletries that might be needed during the journey. Here's the toilet itself and a baby change table. The trip was spiced up a little with some turbulence, and a bottle of water was brought around and fits nicely into this part of the seat. We eventually cleared the turbulence, and I had an espresso which tasted great and woke me up to start getting some editing done and charge my GoPro batteries. Now, I know that the business cabin was fairly empty, but this view really gives you an idea of how much privacy you can get, especially with these throne seats. We spun around and started our descent down into Singapore's Changi International Airport. Now I should also mention that the aircraft is fitted with Wi-Fi and business class passengers get 100 megabytes for free. So how was the flight? Now I think that the seat itself is really good. For a narrow body aircraft, having a seat that folds completely flat is really impressive. There's also great privacy and plenty of storage space. The in-flight entertainment also had plenty of Western content. The service was really good, as I've always found with Singapore Airlines, although I hope that they do reintroduce those small things like the boarding drinks and warm towels once COVID starts to settle down. Now I won't dwell on the aircraft itself much and hope that the airlines, Boeing and the FAA have all learnt their lessons with the whole MCAS debacle and are now extra careful to ensure that everything is especially safe. My 737 pilot friends seem fairly happy to fly the 737 MAX, so we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching one of several new videos I'm doing on Singapore Airlines. These include economy, business, and coming up early next year will be first class on the A380 and 777, so make sure you keep an eye out for those on my channel. I'll also be doing a tour around the incredible dual water display in my A380 Business video, so keep an eye out for that in a few weeks. Thanks for watching.